Exposed, cops' shocking bribe backfires as they discover their new boss is the framed black woman. Angela woke up that morning to the sound of hope. The sun peeked through her worn curtains, casting a warm glow in her modest kitchen, where burnt toast often served as breakfast. Coffee brewed, the rich aroma filling the air, while Mia still slept peacefully, tangled in her blanket. Angela's heart soared every time Mia smiled. That little girl was her world. Little did she know, everything was about to change. As she hustled through her day serving up greasy fries to cranky customers and scrubbing floors at the local motel, Angela's spirit never wavered. She often found a moment to chat with her neighbors, exchanging laughter and stories that knit their community together. But whispers filled the air, and shadows fell over her vibrant spirit. In a sensational twist, Angela woke to a nightmare. A police sting gone wrong left her in handcuffs, falsely accused of drug possession. Just like that, her neighbors turned their backs, and the whispers amplified into chaotic murmurs. Sympathy vanished, replaced by suspicion and sneering judgment. It felt like betrayal wrapped in an unfair sentence, and she was helpless, drowning in despair. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The community that once rallied around her now labeled her a criminal. It was a devastating betrayal. Angela crumpled under the weight of prejudice, struggling to remain strong for Mia while the world painted her a monster. Then, Gloria, Angela's mother, the retired military veteran who had always stood tall, decided that they wouldn't be broken. "We fight this together." Gloria insisted, just like she had fought for her country. Together, they ignited a fire under their community. Bake sales sprouted like wildflowers in spring, funds circulating to support Angela's legal fees as neighbors offered their hands, their words of encouragement ringing loud. Angela's plight transformed the town, transforming gossip into rallies demanding justice. Yet, through all the cries for help, whispers of corruption in the police force bubbled beneath the surface. But just as the tide turned, Gloria discovered a shocking truth: her granddaughter, Angela's daughter Mia, had been promoted to lieutenant in the very police department undermining Angela. The irony hit like a freight train, creating a fracture in their family. Would this new position empower Mia to expose the officer's corrupt actions, or would loyalties override everything she had been taught? The confrontation loomed closer, a tempest brewing on the horizon. With every pulse of her heart, Angela prepared to face those officers. Anger and hope danced within her, tearing at the fibers of her spirit. Would the truth survive the waves of betrayal? Would family bonds shatter under the weight of corruption? As she stepped toward the unknown, the very heart of the community beat in unison, a shared story of resilience, waiting to see how it would unfold. Angela's heart raced as she stood at the edge of the police station. The familiar walls, once a symbol of protection, now felt like a cage built from betrayal. She could practically hear the murmurs of her neighbors as they rallied outside, their signs declaring justice for Angela. Fluttering in the breeze. It was surreal. Their support felt like a tether, pulling her through this storm, yet the thought of Mia inside the station twisted something deep within her. Gloria held her hand tightly, the lines etched in her face revealing years of courage and determination. "You can do this, honey. Remember why you're here," she whispered, her voice steadying Angela's nerves. Angela nodded, but doubt crept in. What if Mia stood against her? What if blood really was thicker than water this time? As they entered the station, Angela's mind swirled with questions. She spotted Mia, her daughter, adorned in the crisp uniform of a lieutenant. Mia's face was a blend of focus and apprehension. They were on opposite sides of a divide no one could see, and yet, it felt so wide. Angela's emotions roared inside her, words teetering on the edge of her tongue. "Mia." she called out, struggling to keep her voice steady. The younger woman turned sharply, eyes widening in shock. For a moment, the world around them faded, leaving just them two, mother and daughter, on the brink of an unimaginable confrontation. "Mom, I didn't know you'd be here," Mia said, stepping forward cautiously. Angela longed to pull her into a hug, to remind her of the little girl who believed in justice and goodness. But now, that girl was wrapped in badges and duties, clouded by the murky waters of corruption. "Do you know what's happening?" Angela's voice trembled. "It's not just me, it's everyone. They are hurting. I need you to listen." Mia's gaze shifted to the floor, and Angela could see the internal struggle dancing across her features. "I do," Mia whispered, clutching her badge as if it contained her own identity. "But you don't understand, it's complicated. I have orders to follow." The words stung. Angela felt the weight of betrayal clicking into place, like the parts of a puzzle forming a picture she didn't want to see. "Orders? Mia, those orders are built on lies. Look around. Look at the neighbors who believed in you. Who believed in us." Mia flinched slightly, her expression softening for just a moment. "But if I speak up, if I defy them, I'll lose everything." "You'll lose what? A badge? A job?" Angela implored, voice rising. "You have a chance to fight for what's right, Mia. Please, don't let fear hold you back." There was a pause, an eternity in that moment where time seemed to stand still. The air shifted, charged with unspoken emotions, but before either could say more, footsteps echoed nearby, bringing the reality crashing back. Officers approached, wearing their uniforms with an air of authority that belied the corruption underlying them. Feelings of dread washed over Angela, but she held strong. "Mia, think about it. This isn't just about us. It's about justice. About our family and our community. You have the power to change this." Angela's heart swelled with hope that maybe, just maybe, her daughter could bridge the gap between them. Mia bit her lip, eyes darting back and forth as the familiar faces of her colleagues loomed. Regret curled inside Angela. What had led them to this brink? Would her daughter stand with her, or would this be the moment they lost their connection forever? Suddenly, Gloria stepped closer. "Mia, your mother is right. If you join forces with those who do wrong, you won't just break your moral compass, you'll break our family. What will you choose?" Clarity flickered in Mia's eyes as she weighed her options, the voices growing louder around them. With every heartbeat, a decision lingered in the air like thick smoke. Angela held her breath, desperate for a sign, waiting for a glimmer of hope that could change everything. Just as an answer began to shape, a distant commotion erupted outside, drawing attention. Faces turned, and the storm outside intensified. What? Now? Angela wondered, dread wrapping around her heart. Another wave of chaos? Or was this the moment meant to reveal everything? As they turned, the world blurred, and the future remained uncertain, hanging by a thread, waiting to be unraveled. Would Mia find her voice, or would silence shatter their family forever? The chaos outside escalated, a cacophony of voices and sirens piercing through the air. Angela's heart raced as fear and anticipation churned in her stomach. She turned to Mia, whose expression shifted from uncertainty to urgency. "Stay close," Mia murmured, glancing at her mother before stepping back to her colleagues, who were gathering to assess the situation. Why now? Angela thought, sensing the walls closing in. Why now, when I finally confront her? She gripped Gloria's hand tightly, seeking strength in the calm she could barely feel. "We'll fight through this," Angela whispered, though she wasn't sure who she'd be fighting alongside. Officers were rushing out, leaving their posts and forming lines just outside the station, their faces set in determined grimaces. Angela followed Mia with her eyes, watching her daughter's indecision play out like a slow-motion film. Mia stood at the edge of the group, torn between her duty as a lieutenant and the moral threads pulling at her heart. Would she uphold the system that had kept them divided, or would she take the first step toward the truth? "Mom," Gloria said urgently, "we should go join the crowd. They might need you." Angela hesitated. "What if they need a voice? The community needs clarity." "You can provide that," Gloria insisted, her gaze fierce. In that moment, Angela understood Gloria's unyielding belief in the power of truth, and that was enough to ignite her resolve. She nodded and stepped away from the shadows of the police station, her heart hammering as she approached the assembled crowd. The waves of neighbors and friends surged forward, hope buoying them amid the uncertainty. It was overwhelming. Each sign held aloft, each voice that rose like a wave, reminded her of what she was fighting for. Justice for Angela. They chanted, a mantra that seemed to fill the air with electricity. Angela felt the warmth of their faith in her, grounding her amidst the chaos. They were right, not only about her but about the system. Someone had to be brave enough to expose the truth, and even if it meant risking everything, she was ready to become that voice. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the street. A barricade had fallen, and tension snapped like a taut string. Officers shouted commands, their expressions turning grave. Mia moved quickly, barking orders to her team, yet Angela could see the conflict etched in her daughter's features. "Mia!" Angela called, ignoring the shouts swirling in the chaos. "You have to tell them. You have to tell everyone the truth." Mia turned, caught between the two worlds. Her hand shook slightly at her side, the badge gleamed harshly against the backdrop of protesters. Time seemed to pause as the crowd's chant intermingled with the officers' cries, chaos mixed with a desperate call for justice. Angela's voice started to break through the noise. "You don't have to follow those orders if they're wrong. You don't have to choose between us. We're in this together. Fight with us, not against us." Mia hesitated, and for a heartbeat, the world simmered down. A flicker of understanding passed between them, like a thread seeking to connect after a long separation. An officer nearby shot a concerned look in her direction. The pressure of the moment surged, amplifying the stakes, yet just then, a squad car peeled around the corner, sirens blaring, and Angela's heart dropped. Who else was coming? What damage could ensue if the mob and the police clashed? This showdown was not just about their family anymore, it could spiral to involve everyone they loved. Mia glanced again at the crowd, and Angela could see she was trembling on the edge of a precipice. Would she leap toward truth and justice, or retreat into the safety of conformity? The car screeched to a halt, and out stepped a figure in a suit, someone Angela recognized from the precinct's upper echelons. Time froze. What were they doing here, and how would they react to their daughter's defiance? Angela felt the walls tightening again, but now it was different. She had her community, her daughter, and determination. With every breath, every heartbeat, they were pushing against the fear. Just as the confrontation began to unfold, Mia's eyes locked with Angela one last time. It was a silent question, a shared recognition of the choice that lay ahead. "What will you choose, Mia?" Angela whispered, the weight of history and future crashing down. In that electric moment, everything was at stake. Would they stand for what was right together, or would they be pulled back into silence? With a shuddering breath, Angela braced for the answer, knowing that whatever came next would change everything. Would it spark a flame of revolution or extinguish the fragile hope they had left? Angela stood frozen, every fiber of her being tuned into the charged atmosphere. The figure in the suit was Detective Price, a high-ranking officer known for his iron grip on the department. Suppressing her instinct to retreat, Angela stepped forward, feeling Gloria's hand squeeze her own as if to ground her in the unfolding chaos. "Mia!" Price boomed, his voice slicing through the growing tension. "Get your team in line. We can't afford any more insubordination." The crowd held its breath. Angela could feel the heat of their collective hopes resting on Mia, whispering into the void between them, urging her to break the silence that had held them captive for so long. Mia stood at the edge, trembling, caught between a legacy of silence and the loud call for justice. But she started, frustration tightening her throat. The words were there, swirling, but the weight of her badge and familial obligation pressed down harder than it ever had before. Mia. Angela's voice became softer, aflame with urgency. You have a choice. You can make this right. The crowd began to chant again, louder and more insistent, "Truth for Angela. Truth for Angela." Mia's eyes brimmed with tears, reflecting the uncertainty of her position. A decision was palpable in the air. The moment hung like ripe fruit, ready to either fall into glorious revolution or crash into despair. Detective Price's brow furrowed as he took a step closer to Mia. You listen to me, Lieutenant. We have protocols to follow. You have to know. Mia's voice rang out, cutting through the noise as if it were a forest fire, the sheer strength of her refusal igniting the crowd further. Price flinched, uncertain. For the first time, doubt flickered across his face as Mia took a single step back, placing herself closer to those who believed in Angela. Mia, please, Price began again, his tone shifting to a manipulative edge. You wouldn't want to lose your job, your career? Yes, I would. Mia yelled, her voice steadier now. If it means losing my soul for a broken system. Mom deserves justice, and so do all of us. The crowd exploded with a chorus of affirmations, some weeping, others raising their fists in solidarity. Angela's heart soared, a radiant hope mixed with fear swirling inside her. This was it. They were on the brink of a change, but it could just as easily slip away. Angela, step back from the crowd. Price ordered, his voice dipping into a threatening tone. Unfazed, Angela held her ground. I'm not going anywhere. This is our moment. It's time to hold you and your department accountable. Mia's gaze flickered between the two, her breaths quickening as if she were trying to cross a bridge that could collapse at any moment. Do you really think this is about you versus the department? Price sneered, his composure cracking just enough to show the panic hiding beneath. You're just a woman, tarnished and framed, nothing more. In that instant, Mia's visage shifted from uncertainty to resolve. I'm more than just my badge, and Mom is more than your victim. We are not afraid anymore. A ripple of energy surged through the crowd. Angela felt the embers of hope ignite into a full-blown flame. They were coming together, family for one another, neighbors standing firm for justice. But then, noise erupted from a different direction, a small contingent of officers emerging from the police station. They looked troubled, drawn as if they were witnesses to something they could no longer ignore. Mia. One of them shouted, do you know the reason we've been quiet for so long? An icy silence fell as everyone turned, drawn into the moment fraught with possibility. What secret kept them silent? What bond of loyalty would tear or shred when the truth finally unveiled itself? Angela's heart raced. This was the opening they needed, but would it be enough to guide them toward the light? Could they unite against a system that had betrayed them all, or would the shadows pull them back into darkness? As the truth hung precariously in the air, she knew one thing for certain: the choice was not just Mia's anymore. It was the community's, the world's. And the answer would define them. Angela leaned in, her heart pounding. What are you going to say? She urged softly, locked into Mia's wide eyes. With the weight of the moment, every breath became a question of what would come next, what choice would be made on that crowded street teetering between chaos and courage. Mia's heart thudded painfully in her chest as she locked eyes with the officer yelling for her attention. The silence was deafening, the crowd hanging on the precarious edge of revelation. She could see the desperation in the man's eyes, a fellow officer torn between loyalty to his badge and the truth he could no longer suppress. What do you mean? Mia asked, her voice trembling as she moved forward, drawn by an instinct deeper than fear. The officer took a deep breath, visibly struggling with a torrent of emotions as the crowd's anticipation swelled like the tide. We've been part of it, Mia. The corruption. The bribes, it goes higher than we even knew. We've been silenced out of fear, but we can't stay quiet anymore. Gasps erupted from the crowd, rippling like a stone tossed into a still pond. Angela felt the tension crackle through the air. This was the moment they had all hoped for, yet the uncertainty of what the truth could lead to loomed overhead like a storm cloud. Detective Price's face twisted in anger, his authoritative mask slipping as he glared at the officer. "Don't you dare. You're going to ruin everything." Mia took another step closer to the officer, a fierce determination igniting within her. She wasn't just Mia the officer anymore, she was Mia the daughter, the sister, the advocate for justice. "No more hiding," she said sharply, her voice gaining strength. "If we want change, we need to face these demons together. All of us." The crowd surged with energy, many stepping closer, emboldened by her words. Angela's hands shook, a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through her veins. They were all standing on the brink of something potentially transformative, and each heartbeat was a reminder that they were still in danger. Detective Price turned to his team, venom dripping from his words. "You will regret this. The department will not stand for this betrayal." But Mia shook her head, her resolve unyielding. "The only thing we need to stand against is the lies. If we don't stand now, we'll never stand at all." A low murmur spread through the police officers still standing with Price. They exchanged glances, uncertainty flickering as questions began to take root. Was this really what they wanted, protecting a corrupt system while the people they swore to protect begged for justice? "Listen," one of the officers spoke, his voice shaky but rising above the noise. "If we do this, we might lose everything. Our jobs, our families." Angela stepped forward, eyes gleaming with determination. "But if you don't, you lose your dignity. Your integrity. The lives of the people in this community. Courage doesn't mean being fearless, it means standing up despite your fear." The crowd roared, their voices creating a powerful chorus of support. Angela felt the energy shift, a collective heartbeat. They were no longer just individuals divided by badges and roles, they were united by a common purpose. As Mia took a deep breath, the path ahead began to clear in her mind, yet a weight settled over her shoulders. If we go down this path, there's no turning back. Can we afford that? An unexpected silence fell again as everyone mulled over the gravity of Mia's words. The air was thick with anticipation, every breath fueling doubts, yet also igniting a flicker of hope. Angela looked around, meeting the eyes of those she had fought for. What's it going to be? Are we willing to fight for the truth, together? In that moment, a sense of unity swelled. The crowd erupted once more, the chant changing to a fierce mantra, together for truth. Together for justice. But beneath the surface of that collective roar, Angela's gut twisted with unease. What if they discovered something even deeper? What if the corruption ran so deep that it threatened to tear the very fabric of their lives apart? As Mia faced the crowd, she raised her voice, "Then we face it together. No more secrets." A tense murmuring followed, charged with uncertainty but laced with defiance. Angela's stomach knotted again, knowing that some truths could lead to salvation, while others would destroy everything they had fought for. And just as hope surged anew, a rustle came from the edge of the crowd, drawing all attention. The next twist of fate was on the horizon. The figure looming from the shadows would either lend them strength or cast them back into despair. What's coming next? Angela whispered to herself as the world around her seemed to hold its breath in an exhale of uncertainty. She could feel the pulse of change in the air, and it scared her as much as it thrilled her. Would the truth set them free, or further entangle them in a dark web of deceit? The crowd parted as the figure stepped forward, revealing the unmistakable features of a woman. Angela recognized a dark, resilient presence that had once thrived in the shadowy corridors of the precinct. It was Sheila Davis, an officer who had been wrongfully accused and dismissed from the force months ago. Angela felt her breath hitch in her throat. What's she doing here? Mia's voice was barely a whisper, tinged with surprise and disbelief. Sheila's eyes, sharp and steely, surveyed the throngs of people, quickly landing on Mia and Angela. There was no fear in her gaze, only an unmistakable spark of resolve. "Funny how the world turns, isn't it?" she began, striding boldly toward the front. "You celebrate justice while I was buried beneath a mountain of lies." The energy shifted palpably in the air, a simmering tension mixing with hope. Mia could see a stream of recognition ripple through the crowd as they began to realize the weight of Sheila's presence. Some members stepped back, uncertain, while others leaned in closer, curiosity driving them forward. "What happened to you was wrong, Sheila," Mia asserted, stepping toward the woman she had once admired from afar. "We believed in your innocence." "And yet your colleagues didn't," Sheila interrupted, her tone direct yet not unkind. "They swept the truth under the rug to protect their own. But look at you now, standing for what's right. You're ready to take a stand, ready to fight." Angela felt a flutter of encouragement rise in her heart, mixed with disbelief that Sheila had returned. "We're all fighting now," she said, her voice growing stronger. "If we're going to tackle this corruption, we need your insights. You know things we need to expose." Sheila nodded slowly, her expression shifting. "Let us be clear, though. My fight does not erase your own. You're about to plunge into depths you aren't even prepared for. This system is venomous, it bites back without hesitation." Mia squared her shoulders. "Let it bite. We're not turning away. We've seen enough. Your voice, Sheila, could be exactly what we need." The murmuring in the crowd began to rise again, an almost electric charge sparking with renewed energy. They were hungry for change, hungry for someone to lead them, and perhaps that someone was Sheila. Inkling of doubt threaded through Angela's mind. Could Sheila really be the ally they needed? Or had the darkness of betrayal warped her spirit too much? As those thoughts danced in her mind, Detective Price stepped forward, fury radiating from him. "You think you can just return to this mess and play hero? You'll regret this. We're stronger than you know." "Strength won't save you from the truth," Sheila shot back, unwavering. Mia locked eyes with her. "Then let us uncover it together, every secret, every corrupt act. Are you ready for the fallout?" Sheila challenged, an unyielding spark igniting between them. Mia swallowed hard, her heart racing. "No more holding back. We'll do this. We'll face whatever comes. And what if the reveal tears apart the lives we've built?" Angela spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. "Change isn't easy," Sheila replied, her heavy gaze looking beyond them, as if envisioning the storm ahead. "But sometimes, you must break before you can heal." The crowd stood as one, a complex weave of fear and anticipation morphing into collective courage. The moment felt monumental, yet Angela realized the fragility of it all. Was this a step toward healing, or would it unravel the very fabric of their lives? Suddenly, a siren shrieked in the distance, cutting through the tense atmosphere. All turned to the street, only to see a convoy of police cars racing toward them. Alarm bells tolled in Angela's mind as she recognized the emblem, a symbol of power and intimidation. What were they coming to quell? Would mercy find its way through the chaos? "Mia," she called, her heart pounding harder than ever. "We have to get ready. They're coming for us." As the wind howled, a collective shudder passed through the crowd, igniting sprints of determination. Would they stand and fight or scatter? Like leaves in the storm? The answer awaited them, hiding in the shadows of the impending conflict. The sirens wailed closer, each sound amplifying the tension that hung in the air. Angela felt her heart race, her instincts screaming that they had little time to waste. The crowd shifted uneasily, a sea of faces marked with uncertainty and fear. She glanced at Mia, whose jaw was set with determination, and Sheila, who stood defiantly at the front, her posture a testament to battles already fought and those yet to come. "Mia! Angela shouted over the rising chaos. "We need a plan. Fast." Mia nodded, her eyes scanning the crowd. "We can't just scatter. If we stand united, we can show them we're not afraid," she said, her voice steady despite the rising tension. "Yeah, but it's not just about being brave," Angela replied, an edge of panic creeping in. "They'll try to intimidate us. That's their tactic." Sheila caught their eyes, her face a mask of fierce resolve. "We can't let them silence us. We have to make our voices louder. The truth has to be heard," she insisted, turning to the crowd. "Are you with us?" A murmur of agreement rippled through the throng. "Yes." Some called, while others raised their fists in solidarity. The fear that had tightened around them began to loosen, replaced by a collective hope. Angela felt the swell of courage rise against the fear. "If we're going to do this, we need to organize. Everyone shout out what you know, every detail that could lead us to uncover the corruption. We need to stand as one." As she spoke, the police convoy screeched to a halt, and uniformed officers poured out like a torrent. Their presence loomed over the crowd, an embodiment of the power they had come to fear. Detective Price emerged from the pack, his expression darkened with a mix of anger and triumph. "You think you can defy us?" he barked at the crowd. "You're just a bunch of misguided fools. You don't know what you're walking into." Angela felt a rush of anger at his words. "We're not afraid of you," she shouted back, her voice stronger than before. "We demand transparency. No more lies. We're here to expose the truth." The crowd erupted, chants rising in waves. "Truth. Justice. Change." They shouted, their voices intertwining into a powerful anthem. The sound echoed down the street, challenging the very presence of fear that had tried to envelop them just moments before. Sheila stepped forward, her presence commanding. "Every one of you has felt the weight of intimidation. But today, we rise above that. We will not let fear dictate our lives." Detective Price's harsh gaze shifted, taken aback by the unexpected unity. For a moment, uncertainty crossed his features. Had he underestimated their resolve? Angela curled her fingers into fists, adrenaline rushing through her. This was their moment. They could turn the tide, if only they would keep pushing. "We are stronger together," she exclaimed, raising her voice over the din. "We have the truth on our side." But just then, an officer broke from the ranks, rushing toward Price, a look of urgency plastered across his face. "Sir, we've got a situation." Price's eyes darkened with concern. "What is it?" he demanded, his tone shifting suddenly from brash to apprehensive. Angela strayed closer, straining to hear as the murmurs from the police officer grew more intense. Before she could catch the words, a feeling of dread settled in the pit of her stomach. What could they possibly be hiding that was shifting the dynamic so quickly? As tension crackled in the air, she shared a look with Mia and Sheila. They all felt it, the winds of change blowing faster than they had anticipated. But what would these changes mean for them? With the crowd chanting, the weight of their fight palpable, Angela couldn't shake the feeling that the truth would soon unravel, a truth that could tear their lives apart or bind them closer together. "Stay alert," Sheila whispered to Angela, her eyes scanning the officers, a storm brewing in her gaze. "Whatever is about to happen, we need to be ready." And just as Angela steeled herself for whatever came next, she saw something from the corner of her eye. The officer who had whispered to Price was making his way toward them, urgency in his stride and a wild expression of panic etched into his features. What was he coming to say? Would it draw them deeper into the chaos or offer a glimmer of hope? The officer pushed through the throng, his face flushed and urgency palpable. Angela's heart raced as he reached Detective Price, then paused, panting slightly. The crowd fell silent, the sound of their chants replaced by a tense anticipation in the air. Angela strained to catch every word. This was the pivotal moment, a potential turning point for them all. "Sir, "We've just received an anonymous tip," the officer said, his voice cracked with unease. "There's a problem with the evidence. It's been tampered with." Angela's heart sank and soared all at once. For so long, they'd felt as if they were powerless against the machinations of those in authority. Now, doubt crept into the officer's tone, and for the first time, it felt like the truth was shifting beneath them. "What do you mean tampered with?" Price's brow furrowed, irritation creeping back into his expression. The officer hesitated, glancing at the crowd before continuing. "The files regarding the investigation, they were altered. The documents don't match our records." "Someone knew what we were doing." As a ripple of gasps spread through the crowd, Angela locked eyes with Sheila. They had talked about corruption, conspiracies, but this was real. Something bigger than them was unfolding. Angela's mind swirled with the implications. Price stepped closer, his voice low but laced with anger. "Who could have accessed the vaults? No one should have been able to." His voice trailed off, deepening the mystery. "Detective," the officer pressed, "we need to act fast. I don't think it's just about us anymore. The higher-ups might be involved." With every word exchanged, clarity began to dawn. It wasn't just a clash between the crowd and the police, it was a whole network of lies that was coming apart at the seams. Would they be able to exploit this fracture? Angela felt a wave of conviction wash over her. "Mia. Sheila. We can't just stand here," she called, raising her voice over the murmurs, filled with sudden fierceness. "We can use this moment to show everyone that we're not just here for our own voices, but for the truth that others have hidden away." Mia's eyes lit up. "We need to expose them. If they think they can intimidate us when their own system is collapsing, they are sorely mistaken." Sheila nodded, her determination igniting with each shared word. "Together," she said, raising her fist high. "We can push through this. They need to see they can't hide anymore." But just as Angela felt uplifted by their shared resolve, Detective Price's eyes darkened again, his hand reaching for his radio. "Get back up here now," he ordered. "We need to control this situation." A chill rushed through Angela. Were they about to face a bigger threat than they had imagined? She breathed heavily, the weight of her team's trust heavy on her shoulders. All those hopes and chants could be in vain if they didn't act swiftly. Suddenly, a voice emerged from the crowd, unexpected and firm. "No one's running us over today," a man yelled, stepping forward, the defiance radiating off him like heat. "This is about all of us." "Yeah." Another voice chimed in, emboldening others. "If you're going to take us down, you'll have to do it with the whole community fighting." Angela felt the infectious energy of courage ripple through her. Just then, a thought struck her. What if they turned this into a public stand? What if they called for all the stories, for everyone who had ever been silenced to come forward? As the chaos escalated, the officer turned back towards the crowd in a moment of clarity. "You need to leave. This is dangerous." But Angela held her ground, heart pounding with fierce determination. "Or maybe this is where we stand firm. We will not be pushed away." Sheila's hand gripped Angela's shoulder, a powerful affirmation of their partnership. They weren't just a crowd anymore, they were a movement. And movements didn't back down, but deep inside, a whisper of worry gnawed at Angela. What if the truth they fought for led to further danger? What if this was the beginning of their undoing? As the officer mobilized backup, fear swept over her once again, gripping her tightly. No one could predict where this would lead. Would they find justice or face a harsher reality? "Together, we fight," Sheila shouted, with Angela and Mia echoing her words, raising their fists in solidarity. They had found their voice even amid chaos, but as the storm gathered strength, Angela couldn't help but wonder, would it wash them away or set them free? Knowing they stood at the precipice of something much larger than any of them understood, she breathed in and prepared for the storm to come. Just then, a familiar sound rang out in the distance, a whistle blaring, unmistakably marking the arrival of reinforcements. Would they be a lifeline, or would they only intensify the conflict? Angela's heart thundered in her chest as the sound of sirens pierced the air, growing louder with each passing moment. She turned to the gathering crowd, feeling a surge of fear and hope. Would their unified voices drown out the resistance coming their way? She needed to rally them even more. "Listen!" Angela shouted, her voice cutting through the panic. "We stand here for more than just ourselves. We stand here for every voice that has been drowned out, every person who has felt the weight of injustice." The crowd responded, they echoed her words, a swell of emotion building among them. To Angela, it felt like a tidal wave of shared pain and resilience breaking free. Detective Price's face twisted in frustration as he scanned the crowd, trying to gauge the situation. "You're all playing a dangerous game," he barked, his voice hoarse over the tension. "Backup is on the way. It won't go well for any of you." But rather than retreating, the people began stepping forward, inch by inch, refusing to give ground. Each heartbeat made the atmosphere crackle with raw determination. "Mia! Sheila!" Angela called, gesturing them closer. "We should organize a line. Let us make it clear we're not going anywhere and we're not afraid." Mia nodded, her eyes fierce with resolve. "Let us show them we're united." As they moved to form a barrier with others around them, Angela felt the weight of countless eyes on her, seeking hope, seeking strength. She took a deep breath, channeling that energy into what she hoped would be a powerful declaration. "Together, we're stronger. Stop the lies. Justice for everyone." She shouted, and soon the words transformed into a roaring chant. Their syllables rolled into a powerful rhythm, rising like a living wall against the anxiety swirling around them. The reinforcements finally arrived, police cars screeching to a stop. Officers jumped out in full riot gear, shields and batons at the ready. Angela's heart dropped. A wave of anxiety threatened to drown her. This was no longer just a protest, it was escalating into a potential confrontation. "Stay calm. Stay united," she urged the crowd, desperation creeping into her voice. Then she caught sight of the man who had first spoken up, his eyes blazing with defiance. "Don't let fear divide us," he shouted. "This is our moment to show them we won't back down. They can't silence our truth." His words ignited the group, the chant growing louder, fervor surging through the throng like electricity. Angela glanced over to Sheila, whose eyes glinted with determination. They exchanged a brief nod, a silent promise to stand firm together. Then, in that moment of unity, the air shifted. A figure emerged from the line of police officers, moving apart from the others. Angela squinted to get a clearer look. It was a woman, tall and determined, her badge glinting in the light, a symbol of authority. "Detective Price," she called, her voice ringing clear and authoritative. The tension seemed to vibrate around them. Price turned, confusion flickering across his features. "What are you doing here?" "You're off duty." "I'm here because we have a crisis, and the truth must come out." She stepped forward, facing both the mob and her peers, her gaze unwavering. Angela felt a sense of hope flickering to life inside her. Who was this woman? Why did she seem so familiar? In that charged moment, the newcomer raised her hand, calm yet fierce. "You've all been misled, and I trust you deserve more than what has been handed down to you. The truth will surface, and I'm here to help." Gasps rippled through the crowd, mingling with awe and curiosity. Questions swirled within Angela's mind. Could this be the turning point they desperately needed? Could this woman actually be their advocate in this chaotic struggle for justice? But just as Angela felt hope spark into a flame, the weight of uncertainty pressed down on her. What if this was all a ploy? Would they be crushed beneath the false promise of support? "Together, we fight for the truth." Sheila's voice rose above the uncertainty, intertwining with the crowd's energy. As the tension hung heavy, Angela couldn't shake the impending sense of danger that lingered in the air. Just then, the sirens began blaring again, this time from the other side. Reinforcements were returning, and their approach was sending a fresh wave of dread washing over the crowd. Could this moment of clarity shift the tide? Would they be able to ride the wave of newfound hope, or would they be swept away as the clash intensified? The truth was closer than ever, but what new dangers lay ahead? The air around Angela crackled with tension. She could feel the heartbeat of the crowd, a symphony of hope and fear that pulsed through their shared struggle. The woman in uniform stood her ground, eyes blazing with defiance, as if daring the chaos to encroach on their unity. Angela's heart raced, a reflection of the potential for change that danced on the edge of realization. "Listen," the detective spoke, her voice steady. "We've all been complicit in a lie. But lies can only stay hidden for so long. The truth is coming, and it's going to shake the foundations of this department." Gasps rippled through the crowd, followed by whispers and nods of agreement. Angela felt a flicker of hope growing brighter. If this detective spoke sincerely, this might be the moment they needed, the moment that could change everything. Mia, standing resolute next to her mother, stepped forward beside the detective. "My mother is right. We deserve answers. We deserve justice." The fire in Mia's eyes matched that of the detective's, igniting a spark within the crowd. Angela could see the hesitation melting away, a palpable resolve was forming between them. Detective Price's complexion paled, his facade cracking. "You think you can bring this whole system down from a street corner?" he scoffed, drawing a line in the sand. The sea of officers behind him shifted uneasily, the tide beginning to turn against him. "Not just a corner," Sheila interjected, strength radiating from her as she stepped forward. "We're not just a mob. We're a community. And communities rise together to overcome the darkness." The chant erupted again, rising like a choir preaching liberation, truth, justice, change. Angela felt the weight of the moment pressing down, heavy with anticipation. She glanced at Mia, whose youthful spirit now glimmered with fierce conviction. "You have the power to change this, together," Angela urged, her voice full of passion. "But we need everyone, the officers who stand for truth, the community members who demand it. We can't be divided any longer." The crowd swelled with energy, their chants echoing down the street, filling the vacant spaces with raw emotion. One young man shouted, "Isn't it time to hold our own accountable?" His voice ripped through the fear, becoming a rallying cry that broke their silence. Officers murmured among themselves, uncertainty etched in their faces. Detective Price stepped forward, visibly unsettled. "You're foolish to think you can inspire change just by shouting it out loud." But then, the unexpected happened. One of the officers, a stern-faced woman in the back of the line, stepped forward and faced her colleagues. "We've been under the weight of corruption for too long. I won't be complicit any longer." Her voice rang out loud and clear, echoing the truth everyone had felt but feared to acknowledge. Angela watched as the crowd embraced this moment, a wave of courage washing over them. "Join us," they called to the police officers. "Be better." In that electrifying instant, the dam broke. One by one, officers began to step forward. "We stand with the people," they shouted, catching the strength of the tide. It was extraordinary, transformative, each officer slowly breaking free from the shackles of fear. Detective Price stood furious, the anger simmering beneath the surface. "This is betrayal," he yelled. But his voice faltered against the tsunami of voices chanting for justice. Then, from the back, a group of protesters held up signs that shook Angela to her core. "Justice for Angela, we're with you." The community had come alive, vibrant with colors and declarations of solidarity. It was more than just her fight now, it was a symphony woven from the hearts of dozens, hundreds demanding the truth as one. Gloria, Angela's mother, squeezed her daughter's hand. "You see that? They're not afraid. We've changed the narrative." Tears filled Angela's eyes, not of sorrow but of joy. They were reuniting, fighting together for the first time, shoulder to shoulder against the shadows that threatened to consume them. "Mia!" Angela called out, heart racing. "You did this. You found your voice." Mia turned to her mother, the realization dawning in her eyes. It was never just about being a lieutenant or a badge, Mom. It was about standing up for what's right. In that moment, as chaos danced on the edges of confrontation, they stood tall: Angela, Mia, Sheila, and the community united against the tide of corruption. The cracks of fear began to widen, letting in the glaring light of truth. As reinforcements from the police department started to waver, Angela took a deep breath, pushed forward, and said, "We won't be silenced again. We'll continue to fight for truth for every innocent life affected by this corruption. Together." The crowd erupted once more, voices blending into a haunting melody of empowerment. It was no longer a protest, it was a revolution, and as sirens blared in the distance, Angela, her heart full of hope, knew they were just at the beginning. They would emerge from this storm stronger, a tapestry of resilience woven through shared struggles, a family not just bound by blood but by a commitment to justice. This was their moment, and they would seize it together. Take action now. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our fight for justice. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support, and this is the moment we gather strength together. Don't wait not even one more second to share.